Good afternoon. Let's call this meeting to order, this regular meeting of November 13th, 2025 here in Santa Barbara. Wanted to note that live simultaneous Spanish interpretation of the board meeting is available for those viewing online. And let us pledge allegiance to the flag. Please join me. I flag United States. Thank you. Anna, roll call.
Okay, Mrs. Alvarez Flores.
Here.
Dr. Armistead. Present. Mrs. Cardy.
Here.
Ms. Ehrman.
Here.
Mrs. Frost is absent today. Mrs. Reed. Here. Mr. Walker.
Just barely.
Thank you, Anna. At this time, if there are board members that would like to make comments, please unmute. And starting with,
Kind of, sort of,
okay.
maybe.
That kind of a day, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I just really want to acknowledge, I had the privilege and pleasure of touring Oak Valley School with Superintendent Salcido. And it was good. I mean, I've done some of these over the years, but it's been a while since I've toured a school. And given the work that we do, it just is a reminder how important it is to actually see boots on the ground and see kids learning. And I think the note that I sent to Susan was, the entire campus seemed joyful and engaged. And in light of what you sort of hear about public education more often, it's just, nobody's doing anything and it's a bunch of drudgery. And I'm always just trying to be objective and just watching the kids, everything from special ed to whatever the deal was, to the partnerships like the Boys and Girls Club on campus. And I know that not every school is like that, but that tour was particularly good. The leadership was very engaged. It was a pleasure, but our leader knows a lot of people. So, I mean, that was kind of fun just to walk into a classroom. And in some ways, you think the superintendent of county schools could be fairly removed from that, like the number of people who, some sort of way, Susan, you've touched. It's good. And so I look forward to doing more of those tours. And then the other thing is we got a chance to go have a nice conversation with some folks at the Streamhouse Tribe. Just about education and how there might be some potential partnerships and that sort of thing, and very uplifting. So
I'm good. Yeah. A few things to say. First, I love how we're color coordinated for fall here. We didn't plan that. So this past month, I had the pleasure of attending 3 educational and youth-related events. The first, of course, was Salute to Teachers, the annual ceremony, and it's such a great event because it's just so enriching, and it's a joyous celebration that really honors teachers that are really giving so much to their students. And this year, I really took note of the different topics and subjects, from music to agriculture, science of reading, the importance of cultural inclusion. And it was just really inspiring to see how every honoree brought their passion to their work and how they uplifted their students and their educational community in the process. And then the second event, I was able to attend the Fitzgerald Day of the Dead celebration, and it was so fun. I got to meet the students, the education, probation officers, para-educators, and I really felt like I was part of the celebration. The students made the altar, they decorated the space, they made paintings. And once one of the staff had mentioned that a student last year had decided to start this idea. And so I was really inspired by the fact that this was a student-led, staff-supported event that not only celebrated the cultural significance of the holiday that resonated with the youth, but it also brought them the qualitative and quantitative skills in the process. And then lastly, on November 8th, I attended the Community Environmental Council's Youth Climate Workshop. And I participated on a panel of elected officials, including 3 city council members and then Buellton's Mayor Daniel Silva. And we spoke about what the effective attributes of climate, being a climate steward. And it was just really inspiring to see all of those youth. There was about 20-25 youth take time out on their Saturday morning and afternoon to spend towards these efforts, and just left me with a real sense of responsibility for being, an environmentally responsible advocate. So,
Busy.
yes, it was a busy month.
Nothing, Sarah? Anything, Katya? I will echo my colleague Nadja Ehrman's sentiments about salute to teachers. I had the pleasure of being on the Teacher of the Year selection committee this year, and just seeing our 2026 Santa Barbara County Teacher of the Year, Natalie Wilkes, up there was just really validated. We made the right choice. She's exceptional. It made me want to go back to second grade, or at least have my children go back to second grade so that they could enjoy that little bit of magic there. Also want to point out that if you were not in attendance, it is still possible to get a recording of Dr. Susan Salcido's address, because it was phenomenal. It was one of your greatest it was a home run, and I really would encourage everyone to check that out. Secondly, I was on the ACCBE webinar today for the Brown Act, and it was really, really very good. It really helped broaden my understanding of the ramifications of Brown Act violations. And I think that it's definitely worth pursuing. There is a 2-pager that will come out of this that I'll share with my colleagues, but takeaways, there's 2 words that should come to mind when you're considering whether or not something falls into a Brown Act violation area, and that is transparency and notice. So those are things that we can bear in mind. We discussed closed sessions, and at the end, there was a little bit about conflict of interest, all things that really resonated. So kudos to ACCBE. We may want to reconsider joining that group. Okay, do we have any public comments today?
No public comment.
Seeing none, it is my pleasure to present our next couple of speakers, the co-founders of TechWell, Dr. Kristen Hughes and Kimberly Osborne, is a school psychologist. Dr. Hughes just was distinguished as the award-winning physician of the year. And I must say, I had the pleasure of meeting these women, these pioneers, when our foundation, the Natalie Arfla Foundation, brought Jonathan Haidt to Arts and Lectures. We had a little pre-meeting. And I have been completely wowed by the level of research and diligent advocacy and policy work that has led to the first passage of the Off and Away all day, bell to bell, cell-free phone policy that Colita Valley Junior High and La Colina Junior High are now very successfully implementing. So thank you so much for being here. I've really been looking forward to this.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we are thrilled to be here. Thank you for that introduction. I'm Kim Osborne, school psychologist, and yes.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kristen Hughes, and I'm a general pediatrician here in Santa Barbara. Thank you again for having us.
So TechWell is, can you hear me? A grassroots coalition focused on supporting students in establishing healthy relationships with technology. You might have seen some media coverage of us several years back. This is how we got our start. Dr. Hughes and I had talked for years about the horrific outcomes we were seeing in our practices. We saw students who were terribly unwell and spending up to 10, 15 hours on their devices. So the link was very clear. And we would talk about this day after day and say something needs to be done. And then the real catalyst was when our TKers, we each had a child going into the public school system right out of COVID. They're basically in preschool, and they were handed an iPad on day one, and it was fully loaded with the internet and YouTube and apps and games. And they were told, keep this with you all day at school, take it home. It should always be with you, home to school. And here's some ways you can learn on it. And at that moment, we both went, ooh, we got to do something now. And so we worked very hard to make some specific changes in policy. We formed TechWise SB. We have now changed our name to TechWell. And we continue to work in that area. So this is Jonathan Haidt quote saying that something went suddenly and horribly wrong for adolescents in the early 2010s. We now know what that something is. It was the wide adoption of smartphones, along with some other societal changes that are linked. We see rates of depression, anxiety, and actual suicides absolutely skyrocketing from then until now. At this time, suicide is the second leading cause of death for our young people. So this is a big problem. This is a crisis. You can see the story in study after study. And it's more than correlation. There's some sophisticated studies in the last several years that very clearly point to this causal link. There are many ways that overuse of devices creates anxiety and depression. But in addition to just the missed opportunities and the negative content, there is this very clear causal link from time spent on a device, regardless of content, regardless of what the rest of your life might look like, how enriched it might be. But these direct links from spending a lot of time on a device to anxiety, spending a lot of time on a device to depression. So we understand these causal links much better now. This is not just a mental health issue. This is also a crisis of physical health. We have obesity and diabetes among young people like we've never before seen. We have impacts that go from head to toe when a child is sitting on a device for 10 hours a day, which many of them are. That's not an unusual number at this point. That is the norm for many of our adolescents. So this is a public health crisis. In 2021, the US Surgeon General declared an adolescent mental health crisis. Things haven't gotten better since then. We are still there. This is a societal problem. We call this a collective action problem. We got into this together. We're all in it. The only way out is our collective action solution. So there's no way that one family can solve this for their children. There's no way that one school can solve it. And there's not even a way for a school district to solve it. It has to be all of those in conjunction with bigger changes. We need changes at the district level, county level, state level, in order to see meaningful improvement in those areas. When we have a collective action solution that involves our youth, the most powerful mechanism we have to affect change there are school district policies and practices. That's how we reach our youth. They spend 6 hours a day at school, sometimes more. Dr. Hughes and I saw this as an area that was really ready for some collective action, and we advocated heavily for some specific changes. Those are listed here: delaying one-to-one devices, belt-to-belt bans, adjusting how devices are configured so they invite educational use rather than inviting playtime and recreational use, and just reducing the use of harmful, unnecessary filler technology. We've seen improvements in all of these areas. There is still a lot of room for improvement in all of them as well. On the right, we have our 10 steps to become a tech-wise school. We use these steps to kind of frame our work with school districts and walk through where they are and where the areas for improvement might be. Another area of collective action that is an obvious need always in public health issue is awareness and education. So we see a big need for this to happen with students, educators, parents, and the broader community. For students, a digital citizenship curriculum is absolutely imperative. We have to do this in our schools. We're starting to do it, but it's really a big deal, and we need to get that in there. For educators, we need more professional development. And I was going to say, Dr. Hughes will be talking about a digital citizenship curriculum that she has worked very hard to create over the last few years. Professional development for our educators is an area that we have not done as much work in as we would like to. There's still a lot of room for improvement there. Parent workshops we do offer, and that has been helpful. Something that's been really important, we feel like, has been community-wide organizing, We just need to keep the conversation going. We have a screen-free annual art contest open to any child in the community just drawing themselves doing a screen-free activity. We have book clubs. We also have a community action group that has over 300 concerned community members who want to stay up to date, want to help, want to know what they can sign, what meeting they can go to. And so that's been really, really helpful in getting things done. Our work with children and parents and families is really rooted in these 4 tenets that we pulled from the research as the most important areas of having a healthy relationship with technology and overall wellness. We turned it into an acronym to try to be useful and engaging for parents. So we have screen-free spaces, time limits, exercise, being outdoors, and in-person relationships, personal relationships. Our work with school districts, the STEP tenets are still important, but we really like to lean into this EdTech triangle. We didn't create it. This is from everyschool.org. If you have time later, you might want to check it out. The idea is not that technology is bad. Transformative technology is wonderful, and we want to lean into that. And so helping schools identify what is transformative, right? We have our coding, web design, some uses of AI. There's all sorts of technology out there that lets you do something you could not otherwise do. Yes, we want that. There's a lot of other technology that falls into these other categories, and we want to adjust how much of that we're using, because too much technology of any sort can lead to some negative outcomes. So at the bottom, there's disruptive technology, and we want to avoid that as much as possible. That's going to be just handing a kid an iPad at recess and saying, you know, you can be inside just playing on your iPad on this rainy day, or whatever it is. When you're done, if you do a good job, you can play this game on your iPad. We want to do less of that. And there's more examples of what falls into that category. And much of that is still, it's just really the norm, and it's what's still happening in schools. And Dr. Hughes will talk about our latest and greatest effort to support students, parents, and educators.
Thank you, Kim, for outlining the predicament we find ourselves in our digital era. And like she mentioned, she's a school psychologist, and I'm a pediatrician, a general pediatrician. I work for the county, so I served our most vulnerable youth. And we really came to this out of our concern and our heart for our patients. We did feel like early on we're the canaries in the coal mine, because we were having the patients come to us in these private settings and share their challenges. And it just felt to us to be quite overwhelming to see so many kids and teens come in crisis, and felt that we needed to do something outside of our clinic walls to be there for our community and try to prevent this prior to them coming into clinic in crisis. So we are solution-based individuals. So we see a problem, but we don't like to stop there. We like to come up with solutions. And so this is one of our efforts at a solve. And that is a little mini curriculum. We call this the Screen Savers Academy. It was developed in partnership with the Cottage Children's Medical Center Pediatric Residency Program there with all the pediatricians, and based off of the research like Kim was sharing. And the idea here is to keep the message positive and fun and interactive for our students. The conversations around this sometimes can be had in a negative way or in a disciplinary sort of way. And we really wanted to steer away from that and make it a positive sort of experience for the students receiving these presentations. So how do I do that? Green means go. Okay, got it. All right. So we have provided all the board members here with a description. So that yellow insert is a description of our program and a copy also of our home guide in both English and Spanish for your reference. With this program, presenters visit 4th grade classrooms for 4 interactive 30-minute sessions. Each session has its own theme brought to life through a superhero skit. We have, let's see, For screen-free spaces, we have Netflix Nina, who flicks those phones out of the bedrooms. For time limits, we have TikTok Taylor, who will check out those phones and see how much time you're spending on them. For, let's see, engaging in offline activities, we have MeTube Manny, who is more focused on his life and what he's doing than what everybody else on YouTube is doing. And we have for session for for personal relationships, Snapchatty Kathy, who is more into spending time talking with her friends in person than Snapchatting away. So all of these superheroes come with a personality and a lot of fun and energy in these sessions. There's also for each session a class discussion. So they open it up to the class for some interactive sorts of questions. And I've been thrilled. I've gone through this and watched all these, how interactive the kids are. They are eager to talk about this, actually. So that's really fun to see that discussion. And I've learned a lot from these fourth graders myself. And then there's a fun in-classroom activity that is organized by the presenters, facilitated by the presenters. And then at the end, the students get an opportunity to share, if they want to, about what they came up with during the activity. And that has been a real joy to get to see what they come up with in their own minds of how they can have better, healthy tech habits. So very fun. And like I mentioned, there's also the home guide. So students take home a challenge to try out with their family, who can be following along at home in the provided workbook. In our experience, it has been challenging at times to reach parents. The modern parent is extremely busy, doesn't have a lot of time to come to a workshop in the evening or so forth, but these are home guides that can be done alongside. I know I learned a lot from my kids with the dental buddies. I realized after 43 years, I wasn't brushing my teeth long enough. So we can learn a lot from our students who are getting this type of education in the school, bringing it into the home environment. And the English and Spanish, we're hoping facilitates that for our English as second language learning families. And then, sorry, move on to the next one. So our course is grounded in 4 research-backed pillars of healthy tech habits presented in a clear, stepwise framework, as you guys can see referenced on our back page, which is referenced each session. So they have a nice stepwise framework for effective teaching. Session 1, we already talked about, buzz through these quick, is screen-free spaces like meals and bedrooms. Section 2 covers setting healthy screen time limits. Session 3 focuses on enjoying offline activities and getting daily exercise, ideally outdoors. Session 4 helps students prioritize in-person relationships. And after the students complete the Academy's 4 sessions, they receive a certificate, and their families provided an opportunity to give feedback through this QR code so that we can continue to improve our program every year. And we did pilot this last year at Via Valley with Principal St. Peter, and it went well. And next month we will be doing it at Washington Elementary School. We've already been invited to Roosevelt, and Goleta, the Goleta School District is also interested in having us at some of their schools in the spring. So we look forward to all of those opportunities and for this great opportunity to share with you a bit about who we are, what we're about, and how we might be able to help your schools and your students have healthier relationships with their screen-based technology, because this is the digital age, but we have to also understand that it has an impact on us all, and handle that with our eyes wide open and with tools to help empower our students for their future.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments for Kim and Kristen?
I have a question. Say a family wants access to this, their school isn't doing it, but can a family get a hold of it?
They can certainly have the workbook. As far as the presentations, we do have a training manual that has every single word that will be said in the presentations all written out. So, in theory, if you have this, you could reproduce this anywhere you like. Each presentation has 3 members, so it's supposed to be in a skit and a dialogue in an interactive setting. But the workbook most certainly, and yes, we can provide these as well, so that should you want to set this up, like I said, in any setting, you could.
And we have parent workshops that families could go to as well. It's just hard to get attendance at those because families don't want to they just are so busy. So we've had a hard time getting people to show up in the evening, even if they're like, yeah, well, it sounds good. So going to where the kids already are has been more effective.
This is amazing, really groundbreaking work for this double-edged sword of technology that we're all trying to come to terms with. Now we have obviously identified its role in our lives, super intrusive, got to manage it. But the work that you're doing is proactive and it builds consensus. And I'm finding pods of parents that are adopting these behaviors and sharing them. So kids don't get to say to each other, well, how can you get to use your, and I do, they're just making joint agreements. And that was one of the things that Jonathan Haidt said in his talk. He said, you don't have to wait for legislature or big budgets. You can start this work at the grassroots level. And that I think was really reflected in the crowd. It was like rock star status when he came to the Arlington, every single seat was filled, including the balcony, and lots of very lively conversation afterwards. So thank you very much for presenting. This is really important work. And we all have to be ambassadors for this, spread the word. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. I too want to say thank you so very much. I so enjoyed meeting with you when we did couple months ago and talk about a grassroots, reason for happening and then filling a gap. And so really appreciate that. And it's just making me think about Partners in Education, which has a Computers for Families component.
Yeah.
And part of the component is parent workshops in order to then receive a computer. Kind of curious about that. Have you had interactions with Partners in Education and Computers for Families yet?
We have a bit, yeah,
Okay.
and they have their system really figured out, right? And I love it. I love that I can sit with a family, like as a school psychologist. I know they needed advice because I want their child to do Lexia, even though I'd love if there was some other thing they could do, but if this is what we're doing, I can sit down and sign them up for an online training and they kind of have it wired, but we would be interested in partnering more if they were interested.
Okay, good.
And I think
have that conversation.
Yeah, one thing I've appreciated from their work and also in the work that we've done is having an understanding of when we give a certain technology to a student, we give that to them in the context of their home environment. We have to be mindful of how that is going to interact in their home environment. Is that really going to end up being a tool for learning? And if it is, fantastic. That's what we want. But we also have to, the double-edged sword, be aware that if we do this and the home setting is not set up to facilitate that to being a learning tool, it could backfire on us and end up being a recreational black hole. And so when Computers with Families works with families, I think they're getting an understanding also of how is this going to impact your family? Is this going to support your student, support your family, or is this going to pull your student away from being a participant, active participant in your family life, pull them away from their academics and into these rabbit holes we find because we are up against some very powerful tools of social media, algorithms with YouTube and all of it. These are very powerful apps that our students are faced with, and we can't be naive to that. So we have to understand when we give it, what's the context. So we are helpful and not accidentally actually being harmful, if that makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item, Career Technical Education, our CTE program. I'm equally excited to introduce the Director of Career Tech Ed, Sarah Cameron. Oh, yeah.
Hello, thank you so much for having me today. We're excited to provide an overview of our CTE department and update on all the things that we've been up to. I have with me today our entire team is here today. And I would like to introduce them. And on the screen, oh, it's a little hard to see, but on the screen, we do have 5 members of our team, 2 who are new since the last time I presented here, which is exciting. So we are growing. So first I'd like to introduce Christine Petroni, who is our CTE Pathway Coordinator and K-12 Pathway Coordinator. Vera Owen, who is our Senior Administrative Assistant. And new to the team last year is Dr. Sean O'Brien, our CTE Coordinator. And then as of about 3 months ago, we have Jeanette Hatfield, our Work-Based Learning Coordinator. So very excited that they're all here with us today. I'd also like to share my appreciation for Bridget Boblitz, who helps support and provide guidance to our team. And then also Dr. Salcido for all of the amazing connections that you've helped us make in the community and opportunities you've provided for us. So just a huge thank you. Today I'll be sharing about how our CTE department is focused on supporting our districts in creating and refining career pathways to help meet local industry demands. Our role is to stand alongside districts and provide programming and support as they create high quality, engaging, and relevant career pathways. All right. In the past, high school students often had to choose between a vocational pathway and a college-bound path. Not so anymore. Today, we're focusing on both, allowing students to explore career experiences while keeping clear pathways open to post-secondary education that's aligned to their career goals. The pathways might lead to a certificate program, an apprenticeship, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, and so on. High school CTE is for all students, providing a strong foundation and the flexibility to pursue education and career that best fits their career aspirations. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how we support the CTE lead from each of our districts, a little bit about the grant funding that we do, which is a large part of our work, CTE educator tours and externships we provide, apprenticeship and that we run from our department, our collaboration with our local community colleges, and then some countywide work that we're doing. So when I say we, it is this team that is doing this work. So I'm not necessarily calling out each of them for each part that they're doing, but it is this team that makes all of this happen. So starting off with our district CTE lead support. Here we have a snapshot of the types of support that we provide. And there's monthly collaboration meetings that we have. We do a monthly newsletter. We support their CTE pathway development efforts, provide labor market information for them. And I would like to have a little side note here that we know in regards to labor market data, there's rapid changes in AI, automation, social media, timely presentation you did there. Emerging technologies, many careers have not been determined yet. We know there's a lot of changes happening, and so it's critical that our districts are aware of that and are making sure that they're moving, towards whatever is coming next. And last, we support our districts with grant funding. So we're going to start with that. And there are 7 main grants we run from our department, or we coordinate, or we manage from our department. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the first 4. So starting off with our CTE incentive grant, this funding supports our juvenile court and community schools. Within our juvenile court and community schools, we have a manufacturing CTE pathway, as well as multi-industry career exploration modules, both at the juvenile hall at Dos Puertas and at Fitzgerald. CTE funding also in career counselor and related programming that they provide for students in these. And this is an annual grant that we apply for. And next up, we have our K-12 Strong Workforce Grant. And this is an annual competitive grant where we have 8 to 10 districts that will join us in a consortium application. Their goal is to enhance or build CTE pathways that lead to careers in local high demand living wage industry sectors. Current efforts we have, you can see the districts listed there who are participating. Current efforts in the industries include agriculture, healthcare, education, advanced manufacturing, engineering, and building and construction. So those have they've risen to the top as the highest needs in the area for pathways that currently exist or they wanted to exist in our districts. And third one here is our K-16 Regional Collaborative Grant. And this is a first of its kind, 6-county effort to align career pathways from K-12 through community college and four-year university. And so I know it's very small on the screen, but what we have here is a draft pathway map for our advanced manufacturing one. This one is specifically for Pioneer Valley High School in Santa Maria Joint Union High School District. And on these pathway maps that are still in draft form, we are going to make sure they include target careers, work-based learning experiences for students, industry partners that are engaged in this work. You can see some in the bottom right corner there. And then embedded student supports to help ensure that underrepresented students can access and successfully complete these pathways. And for the last one that we're going to talk about today is we're excited to share about our recently awarded multi-million-dollar initiative, Space Vandenberg, which will in part help expose our students to aerospace careers early on through engaging and interactive aerospace-related STEM and virtual reality experiences, with the hope of creating a seamless aerospace career pipeline for the students who are interested in that. In addition to our participating districts, which you see on the screen there, we also have partners we have partnered with REACH, which is the Regional Economic Action Coalition that's leading this effort. And then Vandenberg Space Force Base, Allen Hancock, and then our local four-year universities. All right, and on to programming we offer from our departments. First one is our CTE educator tours, and then we'll talk about our teacher externships. For our educator tours, these tours started 3 years ago with the goal to provide an opportunity for CTE teachers to connect with local businesses to better understand current workplace practices, employer needs, and desired technical and professional skills that make a successful employee in their industry. Teachers can then take this information back to their classrooms and incorporate new learning with their students. The tours are coordinated in North County, which are the ones you see on the screen, with the Santa Maria Valley Chamber of Commerce. And we have the list of businesses up there that we partnered with for our for these tours last year. And then moving to our South County educator tours. We've now fully expanded this opportunity into South County. The first year it was only in North County. We've also extended participation in these tours to high school counselors, school and district administrators who oversee or influence CTE programming, and our community college faculty that teach in the same CTE pathways that our high school teachers are teaching in, so they can interact more often. Over 125 educators have been impacted by these tours so far, and we've partnered with over 75 businesses. Another program we offer from our department is the CTE Teacher Externship Program, which gives high school teachers the chance to spend several days during the summer immersed in a local business that aligns to whatever pathway courses they might be teaching. This hands-on experience helps teachers enrich their classroom instruction and deepen alignment in line with local workforce needs. There is dedicated time built in for teachers to reflect on what they've learned and plan how to bring those insights back to their classrooms to positively impact student learning. All right, on to our apprenticeship. So we just kicked off year 3 of our early childhood educator apprenticeship. This has been a collaborative effort with our SBCEO Early Care and Education Department. We're excited to see apprentices completing the program. Just had a celebration last night for another one. And the positive response from our early care and education department has been pretty significant, really helping to fill the workforce needs that are there. And allowing these apprentices to start working from day one when they begin taking their college courses. We offer 4 apprenticeships. So we're actually running 4 apprenticeship programs. We offer 4 stackable apprenticeships that can also lead to an AA degree for interested participants who want to either earn their AA degree, take leadership positions within the preschool programs, or use this as a stepping stone to a P3 credential. We also have created this brochure that is information about all of the local apprenticeships. Most of them are in the trades, sheet metal and electricians. And we also have the very last one with the big arrow on it is our early childhood education apprenticeship. And as more apprenticeships are built in the area, we will continue to add on to this brochure. So this is a work in progress that will continue to evolve as more apprenticeships are available. These are hot off the press and are being delivered to all of our high schools as we speak. So they should be arriving there shortly for all of their 11th and 12th grade students as the primary audience, as these would be apprenticeships they would enter after high school. And we work closely with collaboration with Santa Barbara City College and Allen Hancock College. What you see on the right is a flyer that we create for a resource that we create for all high schools. Each high school has their own interests for students is on the left. The middle part is the high school pathways that are offered at their high school. And on the far right are all of the related pathways at their local community college. And so the example on the screen is Carpinteria. So obviously that would align with Santa Barbara City College's pathways. And so each high school has a different one based on what they offer. We also work with our community colleges in supporting dual enrollment. And so we sit in monthly, we sit in monthly meetings and provide a resource and some expertise as the high schools are building their dual enrollment offerings. For an example, right now, Pioneer Valley High School offers 18 Allen Hancock classes. And San Marcos High School offers 25 Santa Barbara City College classes. And that's similar across the board with our high schools in our county. And they just keep increasing. This continues to grow. And last, we support career exploration related events, job fairs, and any programming that we can be of support for. And I will wrap up with our countywide career pathway to industry work. So this work under the name of Work SBC is an effort to help local students and job seekers become aware of and prepared for high demand, high wage careers in our community. And this work is being done with lots of partners. We are one of many, and we know it's going to take all, right? There's a lot of amazing individual efforts happening across the county to prepare workforce. But we really wanted to come together to create a countywide plan. So we're doing this in the 3-phase approach. Phase 1 happened last year with a whole bunch of interviews that happened across the county, and then a subsequent report that was created last spring. And we're kicking off phase 2 of this work next month, December 2nd, bringing together cross-sector group of educators, industry leaders, workforce agencies, wraparound services to help close the awareness gap between education and industry and work to align the systems. There will be a strategic plan that will be developed through this work, which will lead to our phase 3. And our phase 3 will be the development of a digital platform that can bring everyone together and house all of the important work. So there's more awareness and clarity for students and job seekers as they're navigating their career path and finding their career passion. And with that, thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
Wow.
I have a
Well-
question, Sarah.
Yes.
The program you said is at Pioneer High School, the one that's gonna start? Or you're gonna collaborate with Pioneer?
Oh, yes, are you talking about the K-16 Collaborative
Yeah.
Advanced Manufacturing Pathway?
Okay, but that has nothing to do with the tech campus that's
It
part
actually
of the district?
does. It actually does. So each of the districts that are participating in the K-16 Collaborative Advanced Manufacturing
Okay.
Pathway effort, they're each school in that district that's participating will have a separate map. So the
Okay.
CTE Center will have a different map where that one said Pioneer Valley. The CTE Center will say the
And that
Mark
would be
Richardson
on-
Center,
okay.
and then it would go on to Allen Hancock
Okay.
College and then
For
to Cal Poly.
certification. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. A lot of pieces. Thank you.
Fantastic, Sarah. Thank you. I'm
Thank you.
especially proud of the work that Partners in Education is doing as a board member in aligning some of the internship experiences with those key target industry sectors that you mentioned. And this is such an excellent path for many of our students. We
I
just,
want to go back and redo.
yeah.
And Partners in Education is part of our countywide
Yeah,
effort as
okay.
well. Sorry, I failed to mention that, but yes, they're a big part of this work too.
Wow.
I'm wondering, is there a long range future goal? So like this is good going in the pipeline. We hope that by 2035,
Yeah,
2030, 2026.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like the countywide pathway effort is kind of it's going to be the anchor
Okay.
of that.
Oh.
Because we're bringing all of the workforce entities, educational entities that would really work together to help forge that path. This digital platform would be intended to be flexible. And so as industry needs change, that would change with the time. And then hopefully, this is kind of a long-standing place for education and industry to collaborate.
Mhm.
Part of that phase 3 work would be for each industry and related education partners to come up with a plan for ongoing collaboration, knowing that that's really important to have those communication lines.
So, yeah, I like that you talk about collaboration a lot. Is this thrust coming from the county or is it in response to more of a demand from the local district?
All the above. And I would add regional and state in there as well. There's a lot of state efforts happening in CTE, which our grant funding comes from multiple departments at the state level. So they're also working to kind of align systems as we are on this end also trying to receive this grant funding and also align systems. So I think it's the district demand, it's our, us being able to see kind of both the state and the district lenses, and then trying to make sense of that as we're providing programming.
Thank you.
You're busy.
Yes. Thank you so much. I
great.
really enjoy hearing about the career technical education work. And I love that it is a alternative type of education that a lot of our students really gravitate to. So thank you again. And you guys are doing a lot of work in a lot of different areas. I wanted to ask about any kind of like environmental framework that you have for any of the industry sectors. Is there a thought about that and moving forward into like green energy or renewable, and just if you could speak on that?
Yes, absolutely. So there's efforts actually from the state that are coming in that area where the grants that we apply for, we are required to stick within specific industry sectors in our application. We are starting to see more of the environmental green economy focus. Because the way the CTE standards are written, there isn't necessarily a green economy or an environmental strand or pathway. But similar to information technology and computer science, it covers all pathways, right? So the idea of the green and the importance of climate and all of that crosses all sectors. And so I think we're going to start to see more of an intentional application of that within our pathways.
And just really quick, thank you for that. Just one follow-up. Are you finding that you have partners that are able to help you leverage that new focus that's coming down from the state?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer now. I'd say we have a lot of partners that do have a focus on environmental stewardship. And they would be great, great collaborators in the work. But as far as actually an intentional effort in that specific area right now with our partners, no. But we do have tours, teacher tours that do have a kind of an umbrella focus on that. So, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Just to say, first of all, thank you so much for the presentation and for the whole team for being here, and for the board to have this opportunity on your agenda. I wanted to say, just punctuate the fact that, Sarah and the team have such an eye on statewide information and what's coming around the corner nationally, but statewide. Lots of advocacy within the county and region. You can see all the complexity of the work, but they did a great job in not simplifying it, but summarizing it, succinctly for us. I will say that none of this could happen without the relationships that they build within the school districts and across the universities and colleges. Everywhere I go, people will say, I want you to know the great work your CTE team is doing.
Great.
I mean, it's on and on. It's Allen Hancock College, SBCC, it's the school districts. None of this would even really work for our students if there weren't trusted relationships between the districts and our CTE department. So huge kudos to Sarah and the entire team for making it not just about dollars and grants and programs and let's see what we can do and organize it, but truly around relationships, making a difference for students. So I just want to say thank you for that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thanks again, Sarah. Okay, this brings us to our consent agenda with the usual suspects. We have the meeting minutes from October 9th, registration of credentials, acceptance of donations, declaration of surpluses, and then we have the issuance of the high school graduation diploma. That really always so moving and inspirational essay that comes with it. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
I'll move.
Thank
I'll
you, Sarah.
second.
Thank you, Vita. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Nay. Okay, the vote carries. Our next item is a recommendation to authorize an Omnia Partners contract, which basically gives us the ability to bid. Do we need some further color on that? Let me ask if anyone has any questions.
I'd like a little bit of a backstory or background to this, if possible.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a background on Omnia itself. They have like over 1,000, probably well over 1,000 competitively solicited and publicly awarded contracts that public agencies can access. So we can analyze and compare those contracts to identify a service that we can utilize, still bring to the board for formal approval, but we don't have to go through the formal bidding process. So in this particular instance, we had multiple programs, ECE, special ed, utilizing a Walmart credit card. So Walmart no longer partners with that bank for the credit card, so it's being canceled. So essentially what this particular contract allows us to do is to partner directly with Walmart. It's essentially a line of credit. We still have cards. So it operates in the same capacity, but it's only an option available to public agencies. So this is our alternative to the credit card program. Ends up working out probably better for us in the long run. But this is an example of a contract from Omnia that we have access to that's already been bid and awarded.
Steve, is this like for group purchases?
So we're able to leverage, without entities assigning these in advance.
Yes.
It's understood that different agencies will collaborate on these
Okay.
once they're made available. So it is leveraging large group purchasing.
Thank you.
Sounds like an efficiency for county ed.
Yeah.
Get a better deal.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Vita. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, and that motion carries unanimously. Then we have a recommended adoption of an emergency resolution. This is an award of contract without bidding or advertisement because it's an emergency. This is going back to the road repair in Cathedral Oaks. Superintendent is recommending the adoption of this resolution. Are there any questions on it? Any need for further edification? No?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Katja.
Second.
And then we have a roll call vote.
Mrs. Alvarez Flores,
Aye.
Dr. Armistead,
Aye.
Mrs. Cardy,
Aye.
Ms. Erman,
Aye.
Mrs. Reed. Aye. Mr. Walker.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
I'm comfortable with supporting it. I guess part of it, though, just when I read through it, does this have to do award of contract without bidding and advertising? Is there a dollar figure? Is there?
Good question. Yeah, so we're not able to engage in a contract prior to your approval, but we do go ahead and solicit different quotes. So there's one quote that came in around 55 to 60,000. Another came in significantly above that. It appears that that $55,000 to $60,000 range is what we would be looking at when we finalize the contract.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Good question, Brad. Anything else for Steve?
If there is a change in the price, does that come back to us or is this done? Like if
Yeah,
it
so
goes.
this is approval for the contract, but we definitely will report out the contract amount
Okay.
and any other details that you have
Perfect.
questions about.
Thank you.
Because it's an emergency.
Yeah. Great. Okay, on to board policies. I think we're going to have Mari come up and talk to us about some brand new to us board policies that we just had a look at our recent board policy committee meeting.
Okay. So we have 7 new board policies. I have to wear my glasses. I apologize. So I'm going to do this and see if I can see you at the same time. We're going to just go through them one at a time. I'll give you a brief overview of each and the reason that is being brought to you today as well. So the first one is civility. It's a beautiful concept. It's in the community relations series. You'll hear about one other policy as well that is coming to you for this reason. The civility policy is noted in the annual notifications to parents. So that's the reason that we are bringing it forward today. And in summary, brief summary, it promotes a safe and respectful climate by requiring and defining civil, courteous interactions among staff, students, parents, and communities. So this includes board meetings as well. It prohibits behavior that is disruptive, harassing, or intimidating toward others that interferes with SBCEO operations. So that is the big picture gist. Any questions on that one before I move forward?
And if I'm a parent and I don't want to be civil,
What happened?
but what happens?
I'm assuming there might be consequences. It sort of depends on the circumstances specifically, but the point is to try to establish some standards of reasonable civil behavior.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you put it out there, here's the expectation. But sometimes expectations without consequences. Yeah. So
Thank you for asking that question. And as Mari was sharing, it's part of the packet where students for juvenile court community schools will receive a bunch of information. And I think one, if they were to sign it, that they have signed this, later we can talk about this. You know what? We talked about this. Let's talk about what's different for you. You know, what can we support? How can we support you? So that could be one way. Another way is as they're reading through this within their packet and they look at this and they say, you know, I don't want to sign on for this. This is not, then I think it's another opportunity for engaging in a conversation. What about this is something that you object to? What could we work on? I think we all look at this and say, seems a very fair approach to civility. So I think that would be more than a consequence. I think it would be more of an opportunity for conversation and engagement. Similar to something happens in a board meeting. You know, a consequence might be to pause the board meeting or to things like that. So I think it just really does establish a baseline. This is what we're agreeing to and understanding. Yeah.
And that articulates norms for parents in the same way that classroom norms have to be established
Right.
and bought into by students. Kind of like the bellwether policy that we all need.
Okay, next is campus security. This is board policy 3515, and it falls in the business and non-instructional operations series. This is brought forward because we've had a team of individuals working on video surveillance in specified areas of our campuses. And this is one of those policies that supports that work. It establishes clear direction for maintaining safe campuses and protecting students, staff, and property. And it authorizes the use of video surveillance with privacy safeguards, and it requires prompt reporting of threats, including digital threats. So it also covers some breaches in cybersecurity, those types of things. Okay. Also in the business and non-instructional operations series, we have board policy 3580, SBCEO records. This as well came from our video surveillance team of work. Anytime you have video surveillance, it automatically becomes a record, whether it's a student record or a personnel record. So this policy provides standards for maintaining, protecting, and disposing of SBCEO records, including electronic data. And it also emphasizes cybersecurity, staff training, confidentiality, and notification in the case of data breaches. Okay, so the next 4 policies are from the student series. The first one, board policy 5131, conduct. Sort of aligned with what we were just hearing about from TechWell. This policy is in response to Assembly Bill 3216, which passed in 2024, and it requires schools to address student cell phone use and conduct through policy by July 1 of 2026. So that's why that's coming to you today. It reinforces expectations of safe and respectful student behavior that supports learning. And it outlines disciplinary measures for behavior that disrupts school operations or endangers others. The second policy required as the result under the passage of AB 3216 is board policy 5131.8, mobile communication devices. This one establishes rules for when and how students may use smartphones or other mobile devices on campus. You okay? Yeah. It allows exceptions, of course, for emergencies, medical needs, educational use, IEPs, those sorts of things. And it also references privacy, device searches, and device confiscation. Any questions on that one? The next policy is the board policy 5145.13, response to immigration enforcement. And this one, of course, is in response to the activity that we've been seeing throughout the state, throughout the nation. It's aligned with the Attorney General's 2024 guidance and model policies. Our expectation is that by December 1st of this year, we will have updated policy guidance from the Attorney General. So we will be bringing that back to you again as needed with any additional changes. This policy affirms that all students are entitled to a safe, welcoming, and free public education, regardless of immigration status, citizenship, or religious beliefs. And it prohibits collecting or sharing information, immigration information, and outlines procedures for staff when responding to related law enforcement requests for either access or information. Questions on that one? Okay. The last of the group of 7 new policies is the Board Policy 5146, Married, Pregnant, and Parenting Students. I mentioned at the beginning there were 2 policies related to the annual notification. This is the second one. So this is referenced in that notification to parents. It ensures equal educational access and support for pregnant and parenting students, provides them with excused absences, parental leave, childcare, health services, and reasonable accommodations such as lactation supports, etc. All right. Any questions on those 7 wonderful new board policies?
I sort of have a question on number 6, but I'm not sure what my question is. So again, I mean, I read it and I see it as a safeguarding students from unreasonable, but approaches by ICE, for example. If someone in our system knows that this student is here illegally, a little bit like if I know a child is being abused, I'm required to report. If I know that this child is here illegally, is there some sort of requirement on the part of that professional or that adult to say something to somebody?
No, it's actually the opposite.
Okay.
It's a requirement not to say anything because that student has a right to a free public education.
Okay.
So you're really protecting that right over anything else.
Okay.
Mhm. Good question. That was a great question.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions, then we'll need a motion to adopt those 7 new policies.
So moved.
Thank you, Guy.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Now, this next one we get to discuss. We're not going to act on it, but this was an item that came before us in the Board Policy Committee. And on the heels of a pretty lively season of interdistrict transfer appeal hearings, we thought it was just a more salient point that we'd like to open up for discussion a little bit. So in your board book, item 19, you can see a cleaned up version. I guess the question is, do we want more clarity? And with that comes a more restrictive approach, or less clarity and more open for interpretation? Based on our experience, I just love to hear your comments, feedback.
I'm happy to take the first crack at it and dive in. First of all, I have a appreciation for like the complexity of when these appeals show up, and like maybe some others, I have served on local school board district, and I've dealt with interdistrict transfers, and it's very different, right? Because you really don't see the parents and that whole thing, and the thing comes to the superintendent shows up at the board and it's like, here's my recommendation. The board's like, sure. The human element of this thing, that when these folks come in here, and I think what I've seen this board struggle with is it feels like all of us are listening really hard to figure out a way essentially to give the parents what they want. For lack of a fuller description. But based on kind of what the policy is and how we're supposed to do. And I don't know if I have so much even an argument against how the policy is, because it somewhat makes sense. It's like, well, does the district have a policy? Are they consistent in following that policy? The rest of the story starts sliding away. And so there's that. The thing that I have the most difficulty with is, even if we're bound by that stuff, it just feels like there's a piece missing. So once we say, no, we're not gonna overcome, pass up a box of clinics, everybody's bullets out and everybody's emotional about the thing. And it doesn't feel like whatever that next step is. I don't know if that's us or if it's a local district that should be holding that family by the hand and going, we're gonna walk you through this and get you and your family through this. And maybe that's happening. I don't see that part. And I can certainly hear that's not our role, our responsibility. Maybe it just, as somebody who's involved in education, as a community person, as a parent, it does feel like that piece is missing. And I don't know if there's a way for us to either, one last piece. I do think, like, when I listen to the districts, I forget what district this is Orchid. Like that, to me, I feel like I want to say something to those people and say, you cannot be giving a notice in August. And again, I sort of recognize that may not be our purview to do that. But it's probably the one that it looks like this board feels like I almost want to like overrule you because you're waiting until August to tell these folks this is not enough time. Anyway, that's just, I don't have a recommendation. It feels incomplete to me.
I think those are really valid points. And I think one of the things that we discussed was keeping that human element in there. So that this body does not just become a rubber stamp and a bureaucratic, cog. And that there are extenuating circumstances and that districts may not see them in the same light. We still want to have the ability to act on behalf of the family where we see fit. So the struggle is real. We don't know what extenuating circumstances necessarily mean. And every case seems to be a little different, but I think there are also parallels, and many of them come back to this just, works for our family. This just makes it easier for our family. The dynamics, the travel, the convenience, my work schedule, the after school, whatever it is. And, I will speak for myself that it feels, sometimes very negligent to just say, yeah, sorry, but so that's why we need a little teeth in the policy to say here, and we do reflect that. I think we do that pretty clearly. Here's what we're able to do. Here are the parameters for our decision making. One of the things we talked about at our meeting was we could add a little bit more detail to the letter that accompanies the package for parents, so that parents do know what their rights and abilities are, and their kind of
Well, also understands what our role is to make sure, because I think they did pull on our emotions.
Yeah.
We still didn't change our decision. So where I was frustrated was thinking that do they really understand our role is, yeah, that sounds really sad, we're going to change it. Or it's like, we're just really making sure policy was followed. And I don't know if they really understand that or not.
I mean, I would defer to Dr. Elise Simmons, who really walks families through, and in doing so, many of them say, yes, it's not going to be worth my while. But the ones that do,
I guess it wasn't that I didn't think they were told.
they might
saying that
not
it-
register it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's also was a particular time where, especially with Orchid, that 5 years, I think in the past, someone even had older children that it wasn't a problem. So I think that they were thinking, oh yeah, it's a slam dunk. And so when it was denied, especially so late, that's, I mean, imagine you're used to turning in your appeal, and it usually happens. It's not a problem. And all of a sudden it's a problem. And, you know, it's just of the time. And so we got the brunt of it and they got the brunt of it.
And I think that's why we talked about doing a cleaner cut on it. And including something like I had said at one point, you know, like some sort of checkbox or something where the parent has to initial that they've seen this and they've reviewed it, because I do agree. As a parent, I choose so much based off the convenience for my kids. So I can totally hear that in all of their statements. But I agree with Guy, you know, we're listening, what's gonna happen. The August thing was tough, but I felt the August thing was just a fall through on this situation, that it wasn't an ongoing issue. But I think the cleaned up copy, I think addresses all of those things.
Go ahead.
I don't really have a succinct answer, but just as we're talking about this topic, two items come to mind. One, we've talked about a little bit already, is the idea of the messaging and the idea of the time. And I'm not saying that anyone did anything wrong or it's anyone's fault, but like, how can that experience be improved for the parent? Because I know sometimes if, you know, I'm, you know, in the past, bless you, if I've missed something, I was like, oh, well, that says it right there, and that's our policy. Like, it doesn't feel good to know, like, especially when you feel like you are doing your due diligence as a parent and life is busy. We know that there's so many things going on. So that's, you know, getting clear on what is there anything that can be done around that. And one of the things that I'm also seeing is that this is part of a larger housing crunch. And at what point does an equity issue to access to good education, because people who have a lower net worth household can't be in a certain school district. And I see with the amount of interdistrict transfers that we've received, and it continues to increase and increase. I know that we, as this board, we don't really have power over that, but I think it would be remiss of us if we didn't think about that and how that is affecting the cases that come to us. And if there's anything that we can put in the policy that is just cognizant of that.
Just so that we're gonna have this discussion, and then this is at some point then come back as a. Yeah, so one of the things I think, yeah, because I don't know what all 20 districts' policy is, that I'm a pick on Oregon. And I think one thing we could do is we could say one of the grounds for returning a decision could be we expect districts to notify parents by some much earlier date, like July 15th. They can still set it at August 1st. They can do what they want to do, but I think like if we change law to say one of the grounds for changing, it may behoove the district to set an earlier date than what they currently have. The thing that Nadia just said about the housing, you know, again, I think this is a great ongoing conversation. I think having gone through all these hearings, like for me, it's like, wow, what are we doing in terms of why are these districts denying these families? Because they don't have capacity. Well, why don't they have capacity? Because they can't pass bond. Why can't they pass bond? You know, it's like, it really is about a lot more than just one family type situation can't get in a district transfer. I think our awareness of that and how we advocate in the community for a range of things, including, and I think we're not just bringing up, you know, the capacity issue in many respects. Because in many cases, that's what we heard. It's like, no, this is a wonderful family. We'd love to keep this family. We don't have a space. Well, there's a rabbit hole in it. Why don't you have a space? Can't pass a bond. Why can't you pass a bond? But on that date thing, I think we could impact that. I think that's something we could just easily put in our policy. We expect districts to notify families earlier.
I had a clarification question because the first time I had to sit and decide that, I wondered why it came to the county. How did that piece happen?
The appeal.
The appeal. How did we become the chopping off it?
Oh, the final.
The final word. I had that in my head constantly, like, why are we here doing this when we really can't do anything except tell them that their district, that's it. We have to agree with the district. And that's all we can do for each time something like that happens at a district. So who gave us that authority? How did we get that? And do we have the authority to even recommend a change? I don't know that. That's why I'm sitting here saying, okay, we're gonna talk about it, and then all of a sudden, somebody's gonna tell me, it doesn't matter, you talked about it, but you're still just gonna chop off their head. Who's telling me that I'm only gonna chop off their head? I mean, how did that happen?
It is one of the duties of this office.
How
But
did it become that? You know,
I think so that parents have another place to go when their district
I kind of
deals
get
them
that,
a
but it
judgment
just
that
doesn't,
they want.
it's not right. I mean, all we can do is say, we just have to agree with the district.
And
But
that's.
do
the
we
issue.
have a
That is
legal
not-
right to change it?
That's. the-
So,
Okay.
because going back a little bit, and I don't want to just to support the conversation, is that there are certain appeals that are heard. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That are heard by the county board and county board alone. So inter-district transfer appeals, charter appeals,
I knew about the
and
charter.
expulsion appeals. So those are the three appeals that you would hear and be basically a final decision on. So that's, and it's part of, I think it's an ed code that it says it. Yeah, so it's
Okay, so ed
education
code
code
made
that's made it happen.
Me.
Yeah, yeah. But on your clean copy, where it talks in, if you're following on page 3, it talks about the final decision of the county board. And what you're talking about, Vita, I believe what you're talking about, it says that your board policy is proposing to state that the board does not conduct the appeal de novo, right? And that you're examining the record and you're ascertaining whether the district policies were adhered to and consistently applied, and the district's decision supported by evidence. So that's what you're saying. It's like, why hear it if that's all there is, right? Your board policy actually, or our board policy, goes into further. It says, but you can also say that this appeal presents what we call an extraordinary situation. So that's where I think where it becomes the black and white part. The more definitive part is, what is the board's policy? Did they follow their policy? Excuse me, the district's policy, and did they follow it? You know, where's the evidence? That you can feel like we got that. It's this other part that's the extraordinary situation that I think becomes a question of, to what degree does the board want to define what's extraordinary? And it is very, very challenging to nail down, what does it mean to be extraordinary? So here in your board policy, we lifted from our previous board policy some of the things that we might consider. And so it lays it out here. So I will say that in looking at the county board's history of reversed decisions, and Anna helped to look back, and I'll look, I know that there were a couple more recently, and they have been reversed decisions. A recent one was on the South Coast. The district and family came to present to the board. The family had an extraordinary and new health situation for the student that was brought forward, that the board decided to listen to, the district was there to listen to. And for matters related to health and safety because of this new medical situation, plus other matters. For example, the student was going to graduate from that district the next year, so for several reasons, rather the district didn't not follow their policy, they did, but there was an extraordinary situation. So that's an example. I will remember the second example in just a moment, but it wasn't medical, but it had to do with the board.
It was a healthy
Healthy.
eviction.
That's right.
She went to NYU. Yeah.
Thank you. This is a great team. Yes, so it was
What was the second?
yeah, the second one was that the family had resided within the district's residential area. For a whole host of reasons, the family's a single, mother's a single parent and lots of different reasons, work. The primary caregiver, the mother, moved to a different district's residence.
Wasn't she evicted? It was like a rent eviction.
I believe that could have been, you're right, Maribeth. President Cardy. And so it was an extraordinary circumstance. It was a really challenging circumstance. And I think there was the eviction. The district was saying, you're a wonderful family. I wish we could keep you. It's not in the district's rule once you're out, so they had followed their procedure and the board listened to the reasoning, the eviction notice, the housing, a single parent in this case, and the board reversed that decision. Those were the two most recent in the last, I'd say, five years or so. Yeah. So that because your board policy has this extraordinary circumstance provision, that's
Right.
how you were able to overturn it. If it didn't and only said it was about policy and following the policy, then you would be looking to see, did they follow their policy? You followed your policy, that's it. So
Understand.
yeah, so just to add to your dialogue, wanted to
Yeah.
say that.
So, in the interest of time, I would suggest if this is something we want to continue, there's a couple of options. We could form an ad hoc committee to discuss it in greater detail, or we could just hand it back, and wait for the clean copy when it's then it becomes an action item. So if there are any other substantive changes that we want to suggest at this time, or if we want to continue the conversation in an ad hoc manner, if there's anyone that would like to pursue that role, more meetings. I mean, I think I understand, the spirit of this discussion, and it's absolutely student focused.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's the right discussion to have. And maybe those are just things we hold on to and use the next time
So-
we are gifted with another inter-district decision.
I mean, I think, for example, this thing that I'm saying about the date, I'd like
Yeah.
for us to probably pursue having a conversation about that, and maybe at some point that comes to a vote. Because I do see that that's a piece that everybody's been frustrated about, and I think understandably so. To me, I look at it and go, that's not me telling the district what to do.
Right.
So if I said, a consideration for this board overturning is that you didn't meet the deadline that we suggested. You can still have your deadline, whatever you want to have your deadline, but then districts sort of know you've put yourself in a position where there is certainly a reasonable chance that it'll get overturned because you went past our recommended date. I also want to commend my colleagues. I mean, I think we have a good board, right? Because I think emotionally, many of us were like, we're gonna overturn this thing. But, based on the instructions, it's like, well, then you're not following the instructions if you do that. I think I asked legal at one point, if you didn't have this makeup of board and somebody's just like, I don't really care what the thing says, we're gonna vote to overturn it. What is because I don't think there's another appeal process. That concerns me a little bit, that you could have a board that just ignores the guidelines. And even though I might wouldn't understand emotion what they did, I was like, yeah, but you wouldn't, there are guidelines and you're not following the guidelines and you simply overturned it. Right? I don't think there's a whole bunch anybody else could do about that. Well, they're right.
There's always the option of filing a writ in Superior Court.
Okay.
If someone was serious enough about it and they thought that you weren't following your policy and making arbitrary decisions potentially. So there is some recourse. It would be escalating things quite a bit. There's no like other further administrative appeals.
And presumably that would have that writ would be filed by the district, right? We would be overturning what they had recommended. They would be recognizing that doesn't seem like they're following your own policy of instruction.
That's right. Yeah, that would be the most likely
Yeah.
scenario. I mean, I suppose a parent could as well if they
Well,
thought they were entitled to,
Yeah.
appeal.
To Guy's point about establishing a timeline, I mean, as Ed Code does, 30 days, then it's 30 days plus 5. Is there a time limit for when schools must notify? There is, and it is, oh, that's terrible.
So then, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on. Oh, I tried to advance a slide. That's what But it's 14 days after the school year has begun. So 14 days within
Into
Wow.
into the school year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while we're somewhat complaining that these folks have October 1, they could actually wait until sometime in September.
Yes.
Okay, so, but
In
still,
theory. Yeah.
in terms of if this board's a basis for us overturning the decision is if the notice is given after July 15th. If we said that and then ultimately overturn something, and maybe it's going back to legal now. We said our preference is that you notify people by July 15th. They wait until sometime after July 15th. This group decides, based on that alone, we're overturning the bill. Legal? I saw you try to look away, man.
Yeah, well, my concern is obviously we have to follow the ed code for the timing provisions, and it gets a little convoluted because it's like, is it a current year request or is it a future year request? Because oftentimes these things come in throughout the school year because a parent will have, a change in their residence or something like that, and they're assigned to a new school year. They don't want to move the kid. Those often get granted by school districts, so you never see them. So I would want to take a look at like all these timing ideas. I guess we might be able to write in a factor about, if they're scrambling to find after school care and all this other stuff, and it might be something you all can consider in making a decision. But sometimes that also opens this like Pandora's box that everyone's going to try and like slip through that loophole. And then all of a sudden you don't have your like ironclad language you can hang on to and say, I'm sorry, but we're denying your request. So I want to look at all the like ins and outs of the timing stuff before we, insert it into the policy or propose to do that.
I tend to agree. Yes, Susan.
Absolutely. Please stay where you are. 'Cause there may be,
I know.
I may need you.
I want to add something to
Oh, okay,
that part of the
okay.
conversation, just when you're done.
Okay, sounds good. I wanted to make a couple of comments as you're rolling all of this around in your mind for a future board action. One is something that we did add through the board policy committee's discussion on page 1 around who will even notify. It just, if you're following it, it's at the last paragraph of page 1. And the formalizing notification to, of course, the student and parents and guardians, the district of residence, and now adding the district of proposed enrollment, meaning that in the Orchid case, we would not only notify the student and Orchid, but would also notify Santa Maria Bonita. And we say that back to one of your original comments, Guy, around you weren't calling it hospitality, you weren't calling it bridging, but the care of the families in going from one to another. So I wanted to point out that we formalized the fact that we would
Yeah.
fold in
Thank
the
you.
receiving district into this process.
Mm.
So that's one thing. I also want to make a note or a comment or a consideration around the timing of things. What has been so amplified with the with all of the IDTs that you saw recently or you heard recently. And I will say that it feels very unique to that situation. So if we took that aside for a minute and thought about all of the other IDTs that the board has heard over the last 10 years, 5 years, the timing really, from my recollection, I really want to lean on the team. I don't think the timing has been actually a factor.
Mhm.
This time, that timing was a major factor for us, our emotions, our families, and I know that Dr. Simmons and the district spoke at length about that to make some adjustments to that. So I say that because it may be absolutely what you want to do is to add something about timing, but it also might have been, you saw many of them, but from one situation, one time. So I just lift that up for you in your consideration. Dr. Simmons, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
what I wanted to add, two things is I really have appreciated being part of all of the hearings because I have to be there, of course, but also
Mhm.
here now and then being part of the subcommittee discussion around the policy, because even what we put into policy, it's great. It's guardrails for our procedures and actually what I then take from you all in terms of your intent. And so a couple of things that I wanted to add is number one, this idea of the warm handoff. That's my interpretation of what you're talking about, Guy. And bringing in the communication will really help with me helping guide that family and connecting them to the right people at the district, however the decision ends. Because remember, you're also making, let's say you go against the district's denial and you have to go back to the district, it's to the district, not necessarily to their school.
Yep.
Right? So they might still need a warm handoff within that as well. But going back to this timing thing, I can tell you that Orchid has heard you. And actually, in fact, in all of the appeal hearings that I've participated in, anytime you're providing guidance verbally or in your sort of speaking out, the districts are listening. And then it allows for me to then have they come to me and will ask me questions about our policy or ask me questions about what could we have done differently. And so I just want to say that even though it's not going to land in a policy someplace, they're listening to you as you are speaking during the hearings, and I am as well. So then in my interactions with them before the process, during the process, and I say them, the district, I'm also helping educate and inform and provide guidance as much as I feel like I can, So I want to reiterate that again, that, and I can tell you that Orchid heard you and they are working on refining their current system. And I don't have anything on the books yet, but I'm confident I will be meeting with them fairly soon after the new year to talk through what their plan is, because there are some more denials that they have coming. So
Yeah, what I heard was very much, new development. The district's flooded with more students than they can handle. Absolutely, if we had overturned it, doesn't guarantee that the student would go to the spot that the parents wanted. And so that's why I took this as kind of just a bad year. I mean, 5 years, all of them, I think, were the case where their 5 years was up. And I just think this was really unique. So I'm agreeing with what you said around the timing. And I think a takeaway, if that could be discussed, is the time. Like, I think they started seeing the avalanche coming, or maybe they could have been helped sooner to realize, oh my gosh, and we're going to have all of these requests to continue. I mean, it's obvious if my kid's been going there for 5 years on an inter-district transfer, of course, I'm going to fill out the paperwork for them to continue there. So I think there could be a lesson learned even for future districts that this could be happening, or, so just wider conversation ahead of time. That doesn't have anything to do with policy necessarily, but reality.
One more question. I'm really glad to hear you say that you think Orchid was listening because they had prepared a deck on their impacts. So it was basically a foregone conclusion that every single one of those interdistrict was going to be denied. And so then that asks the question, why wait? Why make parents wait so long? In the text of this, we have opportunities to ask questions. They've made a case for with 33 interdistrict transfers and there's surplus and can we go back and say to them, how were your projections accurate? How impacted were you? Is there any provision for, I'm just interested. Did they overshoot? Was it not even as, or was it worse than they expected? Those are just, I'm wondering if there's parameters. Yeah,
I don't.
because
I'm-
we're asking
I'm
about
thinking
overcrowding.
I think maybe when I meet with them, I can definitely say that our board is curious
Mm-hmm.
to know where you landed. And I don't want to say this, but if we see them again, I think that's a very valid question to
Mm-hmm.
ask them. Or I could even say in advance, our board would like to know how it ended last year. And what are you looking like for this year? What's your basis for deny? I mean, I think that's a really great question to ask them and give them an opportunity to respond. So I have multiple ways I could bring it up now that I know you would like to know that information.
Yeah, if we're asking parents to describe the hardship in writing, or demonstrate,
Yep.
why their request has validity, then can we ask the same of the district? That would be all. Any other questions?
Yeah,
for-
I like to also just acknowledge you, Dr. Simmons. I mean, what a tough gig, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think you do it so well. So
Thank you.
yes, I'm glad you hear me on the warm handoff.
Mhm.
I think given what the system is, I don't think we could ask for more. I mean, I think you're doing a good job with families. I mean, you really are sort of balancing both sides. But yeah, I think to the extent that we can investigate that even more.
Mhm.
And that, I mean, I think part of our lead is that tough decisions have to be made, but at the end of the day, I think we're all supposed to be interested in the kids and families. And so I just hate that the note ends on good luck.
Yeah.
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 I hear you. Those parking lot conversations are really hard for me because I follow them out
Yeah.
and I'm sort of. Want to go back in or not? So yes, I hear you. And thank you for your compliment.
Madam President, a
Yeah.
question for you as
Yeah.
you're concluding, sounds like your discussion is, to what extent would the board want to see this as an action item on December's board meeting, as a second read?
Mhm.
Or what would need to happen between now and that time?
Mhm. Okay. So any other comments? I think we're ready for a second read and an action item in our December meeting. Any other comments on that? I think we've done what we can. Now I'm looking for okay, there's the agenda. Okay. This is somebody's agenda. I'm awash in paper here. Thank you. Okay, now we have the California Community School Partnership Program. Is an information item. This is item number 20. I don't see Renee. Oh, there she is. Hi, come on up. Thank you.
I was on stealth mode. And I'm off of the fence. Well, thank you, President McCarty and members of the board, for allowing me to share with you today, about the California Community Schools Partnership Program. And presenting with me is Eugenia Ambrosio, the JCCS Community Outreach and Career Counselor, who is also our community school coordinator. And we have the slides, or are they just following along in the? Oh, there they are. I was just so anxious to start. Oh, perfect. Oh, and I've not used this one before. All right, perfect. Okay, so I realize many of you are probably thinking, wait, we already have a community school. And the answer is yes. And we are also a California Community School Partnership Program, which I will refer to from now on as CCSPP because that's a mouthful. And as a county office, we are authorized to run community schools, which serve students who are either expelled, referred for attendance issues, referred for behavior problems. They are experiencing homelessness, they're on probation or parole, or their parent and guardian asked that they attend our community school. So that's the community school that we're used to. The CCSP schools is an initiative throughout California. And the goal is to provide additional resources so that schools can become the hub of their community. And this is achieved by partnering with agencies throughout the community to provide their services at school, all with the goal of improving student outcomes. So it's yes, and we're both now. And so our rationale for becoming a community school is when you look at our baseline data from the 23-24 school year, we had 23% of our students experiencing housing insecurity. 100% of our students were considered unduplicated. And then 50% of our students were expelled from their school and required counseling and therapeutic services. 31% of those were in need of substance use disorder counseling due to their drug use. And we had a high suspension rate of over 40%. And if you remember in the previous slide, students can be referred to us for absenteeism problems. And so we have an absenteeism rate of 65%. And then the school instability rate, which is a new measure at the state level, says that 94% of our students are qualify as unstable, which means that they are not starting and ending the school year with us, that they're, coming and going. And so for all of those reasons, we became a CCSPP school. And so why a community school? And get ahead of myself. The idea is that we are allowed to transform the way that we do schools. And by reimagining the way we provide specific strategies to meet the unique needs of our student population, we can transform our schools by prioritizing relationships. Since every school and community is different, this means that many schools who receive CCSPP funds, but every school looks different because communities are different, and therefore the strategies used to improve student outcomes need to be different. And so what does this look like? There are 4 main evidence-based features of a community school, which are referred to as pillars. And so the first of these is integrated student services. And then we have extended and expanded learning and time and opportunities, family and community engagement. And then the final pillar is the collaborative leadership and shared decision-making. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Yehenia to share how we've implemented these things. Big green button.
Oh, big one. There's 2. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Renee. A needs assessment for community school is essential to gather information to prioritize our school needs. This will ensure the educational programs and tailored to meet the specific requirements of our school community. We conducted parent, student, and school staff surveys and focus groups. The parents' surveys and focus groups were done during our parent workshops. The students were surveyed in the classroom, and the focus groups happened inside the classroom and outside the classroom to give them a little bit more privacy. The school staff, we did the surveys during our staff meetings. Basically, we tried to use another component to support our surveys and focus groups. And we have the empathy interviews as part of our needs assessment too. This was a key strategy that we used to understand the student experiences. These interviews allow us to hear the students' stories in a deeper and more personal way than traditional surveys. So we intentionally did this process, and what we did, we paired each student with an adult that they trusted. And this way, it ensured that they felt comfortable and safe, and the sharing was more open and help us gather more accurate and meaningful information. So based on the surveys and feedback from parents, they express a need for resources and counseling programs tailored to help them navigate challenges such as parenting strategies, communication with teens, and coping with stress. They also emphasize the importance of additional resources and intervention for students struggling with or at risk of a drug addiction. Many of our families share that they were experiencing financial difficulties and will benefit from economic assistance or referral to community organizations and resources that can provide aid. Another area that they share with us is they express interest in opportunities to engage and learning through or organized field trips. And we really like that. This could serve as platforms for building stronger connections with the school community and providing enriching experiences for parents. The students, we found out that they didn't feel connected to our school. They also they desire to amplify their voice. We found out that 41% of our students felt stress at school, and that 54% of them did not feel respected or heard in the classroom. Also, our local survey in our local surveys and focus groups, we were supported by the same, the California Health Kids Survey, and the results show that only 35% of our students agree that they feel connected to school, and unfortunately, this means that 65% of them did not feel connected to school. 38% of them participated meaningfully, which means that 62% of them did not participate meaningfully in school. 48% of them felt that had a caring adult at school, and it meant that more than half of our students did not felt that did not have a caring adult at school. Staff, we were very fortunate because we have a great staff. 100% of them share that they believe that more parent involvement was needed at our school. Also, 100% of them felt that the more emotional support for students was needed. And also that they need alternative spaces for students to learn, study, and also to calm down. So the survey is basically based on the feedback. We discovered 3 priority areas. And those are positive and restorative school climate, community and family engagement, and integrated student support services. In our first priority area of positive restorative school climate, we decided to focus on training and coaching and restorative approaches. We hire a restorative practice coach to provide staff training and facilitate circle groups for students. This initiative focuses on building relationships, fostering accountability, and creating a supportive environment where students and staff can address conflicts constructively. A student created a spirit wear. That was something that our students really enjoy. Last year, we worked with several students to create a new slogan, logo and design for our school. The logo on the right that you can see there was created by first having our students vote on a motto. They decided on bridge to opportunity. Then a student created the logo by merging the motto that we had before, the fictional mascot of a maverick, and they added a bridge. So I think that was really great. Through the approach, we hope to increase student pride and involvement in their school community. Another area that we want to focus on it was a transition program for returning students. Previously, there was no structured program to support students' transition back to regular school. And recognizing this gap, we are now working towards developing a comprehensive transition program to ensure returning students feel supported and are set up for success. We introduced also an incentive program to motivate and reward students for positive behavior and achievement. Parents, students, and staff expressed the need for a safe school environment, and in response, we hired a security officer and whose presence basically has greatly improved the overall school climate, creating a sense of safety and trust among the school community. We also focus on campus beautification efforts, improvements to the physical campus environment have been also a priority. We began by revitalizing the school garden and inviting space for relaxation and learning. Additionally, we installed a new umbrella for the picnic table where students enjoy lunch, and we have done other upgrades such as a bamboo fencing that we didn't have before. So, and we also made upgrades to our facilities, specifically our gym. We had a comprehensive gym cleanup, and new equipment was purchased, addressing long-standing concerns about the gym's conditions. Last year, the majority of the students complained. One of the first complaints that they had was basically the gym. So, in response, we prioritized these upgrades to create a more welcoming and functional space for them. Our second priority area of community and family engagement. And this one focuses on monthly parent workshops with an emphasis on parent-driven topics. As you can see from the calendar in the right there, the topics range from how to access community resources to parent leadership workshops. And our third priority area of integrated student support involved hiring an academic and career counselor to provide the necessary guidance for students and families. That was me. Also, through the academic counselor and the CT department, high school students started receiving career technical education coaching once a week since last year. And this school year, we have extended the services to junior high school students. The other one basically is all our high school students receive a career assessment and develop a personalized 4-year plan to align their academic with their career goals. And enrollment support basically Before the implementation of community schools, we did not have a formal welcome meeting with parents. It was just registration and that's it. But now these meetings have now been added to new student enrollment and allow students and parents to meet with academic counselor and also the other counselor. All the counselors are present when the student is enrolled. The academic counselor provides an overview of the student's academic status based on the transcripts. At these meetings, families are informed about available school services, the students' rights and responsibilities, and parents' rights and responsibilities. Student transcripts are reviewed, and an academic plan is created to support the student success. The last one, to support not only the academic counselor was trained in ACEs, the adverse childhood experience screener, but we are planning to train for all school staff. This training will provide staff with the knowledge and tools to support students affected by trauma. The training cultivates a culture of empathy, resilience, and trust within our school community. This training strengthens relationships between students and staff, reduces behavioral challenges, and enhances the student success both inside and outside the classroom. Our needs assessment also showed that we needed new and expanded initiatives. One of our new initiatives since receiving the CCSPP grant is the creation of student clubs, where students are able to explore culture and support inclusivity and belonging, such as the creation of the altar of the Day of the Dead, including art, food, and music. This was an opportunity to share their culture with their community in a safe and supportive space. We did it for the first time last year, and a few days ago, we had our second celebration. So we also identify current practices that could be expanded, like our parent workshops. They used to be held quarterly, and now we held them monthly. In addition, we are able to provide dinner and childcare, which has increased our attendance. With the addition of the Promotoras network, we are able to offer translation services in Mixteco and Spanish. But in the Spanish, we had always been providing, being provided by JCC staff. But the addition of that Mixteco interpretation is great. So I'll now hand it back over to Renee.
Thank you. All right, so we just talked about our priorities, and we turned those priorities into our goals when we started writing our plan. And so again, and these are reported annually in our annual progress report, or of course ARP, because we love the acronyms. And so goal 1 is positive and restorative school climate. Goal 2 is our community and family engagement. And goal 3 is our integrated student supports. And so for each goal, we identified how we would measure progress and which metrics would be used. Our baseline was established in the 23-24 school year, which was the first year of our planning grant. For goal 1, we identified 3 metrics. We want to reduce our suspension rate, increase caring adult relationships, and increase students feeling connected to school. In our first year, we had mixed results. We were able to slightly decrease our suspension rate, but unfortunately, we also had a decrease in students identified as having a caring adult at school. And our highlight in this goal area was having a 10% increase in students feeling connected to school. For goal 2, our identified metrics were to increase the number of parents attending parent workshops, and to maintain the already high number of parents who are contactable using Parent Square. Last year, we were successful in meeting our goals for both. We increased our parent attendance by just over 13%, and we not only maintained, but even increased our already high number of parents contactable in Parent Square to 96%. And then in goal 3, our last goal, our metrics were to increase student attendance and to increase counseling services. For goal 3, we were also successful in increasing both areas. Our attendance rate increased by over 5%, and students receiving counseling services increased by 1%. And so we didn't do all of this work alone. I would like to thank our educational partners, the Department of Behavioral Wellness, who also partners with our SBCO Health Linkages for Health Navigators. CADA, who provides substance use disorder counseling at Fitzgerald. The Family Service Agency, who provides a school-based counselor. Planned Parenthood, who provides workshops that meet the requirement of the California Healthy Youth Act. One Community Action, who provides not only a mentor, but a trilingual mentor. So yes, we have the trifecta. Allen Hancock College and the Rising Scholars Network provide mentorship and field trip opportunities to both colleges and universities. Community Health Centers provides workshops and resources for our families. The Proyecto Campesino, who provides, I told her I was going to make her say that, who provide legal services and education for our families. And of course, our 2 local high school districts, Santa Maria Bonita School District and Santa Maria Joint Union School High School District. And then also we have our SBCO partners. Earlier you heard from CTE, so you know all of the good work they're doing, and we are in the mix. We also partner with Children's Creative Project. Health Linkages, we have a health navigator who works with our students at Fitzgerald. And also we contract with them for the Promise Forest Network to provide all of the outreach to our families and to help us out with those parent events. Partners in Education, we had students last year become interns, and then they also get the Computers for Families computers, and of course our transitional youth services. And so there's our partners and there is our plan. So thank you for letting us present. And if you have any questions.
Any questions for Renee or Eugenia? Thank you very much for this, what we can expect now is an annual presentation and the CCSPP. You got it.
Much easier to say than the other title.
It looks, yeah, it looks great. Next 2 items are for your information only, personnel report and the Williams legislation school district report. And then we have some correspondence, good news. We've got approval from the Santa Barbara County Education Office budget plan from the California Department of Ed on the SBCEO budget and LCAP 25-26. And now I'm going to invite out anyone who does not need to be here, and we'll have a closed session.
Might I interrupt
Okay.
just for the moment?
Of course.
I know you have heard from me plenty today, but I wasn't able to give a little remarks on the superintendent's
Oh, did
report.
we skip right over?
We did, and I'm
my
wondering
gosh.
if I might insert now.
Please,
Okay, there's a couple of items that I think would be really helpful for you to know.
Absolutely.
No, that'd be great. Well,
Susan, if we-
yes.
just on that, I mean, I was noticing that, and, you know, I'm sort of in and out a little bit. Maybe this is Diana. Did we do consent agenda?
I'm sorry, what? We did. We did. consent.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We just missed the superintendent's report. I think it's when you were seeing out our.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I was.
Sorry.
No problem at all. Thank you for letting me insert. Yes. So the report is in your board book, and I'll simply say for all of those items there, boy, have our team has been extremely busy around the counties in support, and I just kudos to the team. I really have such I just want to pause and thank our SBCO staff for all that they do that we are able to report back to you. Next month, and I know an item on the agenda is next month's or future agenda items, but I just want to insert that Ellen Barger will be here in December to share and unpack a bit on English language arts reading. Like when you see the scores, what does that mean? So I wanted to share that and insert that for you for December. One of the items that have come forward from the board has to do with human trafficking, sex trafficking. So we were able to connect with the district attorney's office. Megan Riker Reinschild will be coming in February. So we have February, so she'll have a presentation there. So I wanted you to know that that's coming as well. A couple other items. So you may be hearing about, well, obviously you've been hearing a lot about the federal shutdown, government shutdown. You've been following and tracking the news. One of the areas that I wanted to amplify today has to do with Head Start preschools. Which have been impacted by the directly impacted by the federal shutdown. So what I wanted to report to you is, so Communify is an organization that runs the Head Start preschool programs, and they do it beautifully. And our team at the Early Care and Education team, Christian Patterson and Janelle Willis, have been in close contact with Communify recently, as well as up to Friday of last week. And Head Start has, and I'll just be general, just so that you know, generally speaking, Head Start has notified many of their staff to say that there may need to be pink slips notified. So they're giving a warning. We're looking at a December closure if, now that the federal government is back open again, what's happening is there's a queue up of Head Start notifications that need to then come back. Is this? That's the red. I'll go faster. Gotta go. It is loud. It is loud. Well, we can, yeah, we are here. Maybe we stay.
Go slow.
Goes, there you go, either way. Well, I will say that we're really looking to see if the Head Start funding can start flowing again before the end of December. And because there's been a queue up of many Head Starts that need to get their funding flowing again, that's really the crux here. We want to make sure that in Santa Barbara County, Head Starts can get funded again. So all to say that we're in a different space today than we were in 3 weeks ago, but in 2 days ago, even a day ago. But our ECE team is looking to see if any of the funds that we have could then be could be provided to Communify to then provide state preschools. We couldn't use our funds for Head Start since they're not funds for Head Start programs, but they are funds for state preschools. So we're looking to be very creative around supporting. As Christian Patterson we spoke today, and he said, and I don't have it here right in front of me, but I think it's something like $1 million per month for Head Start to continue to staff all of their Head Start programs. So what we would be able to provide would not be continuity forever. It would be a gap filling measure. But nonetheless, wanted you to know that we are stepping in to see what kind of support we can provide to about 300 families that would be affected. Yeah. So wanted to just give that brief report that, again, different today, a report than a week ago, but wanted you to know we're working on that. Moving on to a couple more items, the boards, all school boards, county board members included, are required to complete an ethics training. I wanted to provide the information one more time for you because we've sent it a couple of times, but it's coming up before January 1st, 2026. There are actually several mandates for board members coming up. What I'm going to disperse to you just shows you I'll show it to you first before you get it. It'll give you a concise, what's due by when. There's only one thing due by January 1st, but there's more coming. So it's a little concise table here, gives you more of the rationale. And for the ethics training, there's a free online asynchronous, meaning you're not with an instructor, you do it at your own time. That's on page 2, how to do that training before January 1st. And then the next training, which is due in July, that information is on the 3rd page. Okay. It has been sent over time, like an email once, in a board book another time, and now I wanted to share it with you one more time. Yeah, because it's good to hear it multiple times. It's good to hear it multiple times. So let me.
that went right over.
Yes, ethics training due January 1st. Marty?
For us new people. We're
Did you
not
do
so
it?
new people.
Okay.
Feel better.
It's a good rainy day activity.
It's a rainy day.
No, we're all 100% here that we didn't.
Or we even see it.
Oh,
So
okay.
many different pieces of email that
Got it.
Plus, we're just really ethical.
All right, so ethics training coming up. Page 3 has a, we're gonna modify something, so take it as, page 3 as a draft. That's not due till July anyway, so we'll modify that for you. Thank you, Marty, for that. Appreciate it. Okay, so ethics training, that was the next bullet point. The next item is the annual education conference, CSBA conference that's coming up in December. And this came up, the board approved the expenditures for that workshop last month, and just wanted to let you know that Nadra Ehrman is able to attend, Guy Walker is able to attend. I think that's it from our board. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend with, I wish I could with alongside you. What we're going to do with the board organization and governance committee is, which is meeting here pretty soon under Vita's leadership, will be to calendar out next year's workshop so that we can get some things on our books ahead of time, but wanted to let you know about that. Charter schools. Last month, Bridget Boblitz presented on charter schools, specifically around state authorized charter schools. And it was mostly and specifically around Olive Grove, that is state authorized, and they're going to 4 districts to see if the districts will approve. We, and you'll know that, you'll recall that if a district approved the charter school, then they would be operating. And if they denied the approval, it would bypass the county, go to the state, and the state would decide along with the charter who would be operating. Okay. So right now we know that Santa Barbara Unified has not approved the charter. And so it is moving along the course, the time frame, which around February or March, the state board, along with Olive Grove, will be deciding who will be the authorizer. It could go back to the school district, or it could come to the county office to charter. So I'm giving you the update because I wanted you to know about that. My understanding is the 3 other districts, San Ynez, Santa Maria, and Lompoc, are moving for approval. Okay, so that's an update, more to come.
Do you know why they weren't approved by Santa Barbara?
I don't have that information at hand. Yeah, happy to provide that update, especially since it's coming.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that the operation of Olive Grove Charter School is the smallest in Santa Barbara amongst all of the others, but I'll leave it there and say, let's come back and give you a different report, more information.
Okay.
So that, and then given that there was a Veterans Day holiday this week, a very happy Veterans Day to all those who have veterans within their families, and that includes many of you. We did announce and ask people to let us know if they had, for Operation Recognition, the graduation, which Guy's family participated in the last time, which is individuals who served in World War II, the Korean War, or Vietnam War, who, because of their service, were unable to receive their high school graduation. Applications are open now. We would love for this ceremony to occur for a high school graduation. It can be posthumous as well, so the person does not have to be living to receive that award. So the applications are open. Wanted to share that because Veterans Day was this week. And finally, a future item may be on the ACCBE, the other, not CSBA's county board, but the other county board item that we had brought forward in the past, we had brought to the board in the past. The board had a discussion. At that time, you said, you know what, let's explore it a little bit. Some people might attend some workshops. Our team has attended some workshops. So it might be a December board item to bring it back again. I know that the ACCBE team is eager to present to the board, even to see, here are some of the workshops we can provide. But I think we have enough information now that we might be able to share what we've learned from our experiences. Okay, so with that, I'll pass it back over to you.
My apologies for skipping right over that, really
Problem at
important
all.
stuff.
Not a problem.
Okay, so let's go ahead and have our closed session now.